Welcome to the 9th episode of our video series on marketing research. In this episode, we'll focus on conducting interviews, discussing best practices, and sharing tips for collecting insightful, in-depth information from your respondents. Let's dive in. Interviews are a valuable data collection method for gathering detailed qualitative information from respondents. There are three main types of interviews. First, let's talk about structured interviews. These interviews follow a predetermined set of questions, ensuring consistency across all respondents. Structured interviews are more focused, but they may limit the depth and flexibility of responses. Here is an example of a structured interview. Retail store manager hiring. A large retail chain, Everybody Retail, is conducting interviews for store manager positions across several new outlets. The Human Resources Department wants to ensure that every candidate is evaluated based on a consistent set of criteria to maintain fairness in the hiring process. So they apply structured interview process. First, introduction. The interviewer greets the candidate, explains the format, and ensures the candidate is comfortable. Then comes the standardized questions. Can you describe a time when you had to deal with a particular difficult customer and how you handled the situation? Another question, how do you prioritize tasks during peak retail seasons like Black Friday or Christmas? Also, explain a scenario where you led your team through a significant change in store operations. And describe your approach to inventory management and ensuring stock availability. And how would you handle conflicts between two team members? Then comes the scoring. So each answer is scored based on a predetermined rubric. For example, for the handling difficult customers question, a grade of excellent was given if the candidate provides a detailed approach, demonstrates empathy, and focuses on customer retention. Good if the candidate provides a solution but lacks depth in customer retention strategy. And a grade of poor if the candidate does not address the root problem or escalates the situation. And then comes the conclusion. Here the interviewer thanks the candidate and explains the next steps in the hiring process. By adhering to a structured format, Everyday Retail ensures that each candidate is asked the same questions, minimizing biases. This consistency allows for a more objective comparison between candidates based on their responses. However, the format might not allow the interviewer to delve deeper into a particular candidate's unique experience or skills that aren't addressed by the standard questions. Structured interviews, like the example above, are beneficial when there's a need for consistency, especially when multiple interviewers are involved or a large number of candidates are being assessed for similar roles. Another type of interview is a semi-structured interview. Now, these interviews include a mix of predetermined questions and open-ended follow-up questions, allowing for more flexibility and depth in respondents' answers. Here's an example of a semi-structured interview. Research on local business challenges during the pandemic. Now, Dr. Karen Miller, a researcher from Metro University, is conducting a study to understand the challenges faced by local businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. While she has certain key areas of interest in mind, she also wants to remain open to unexpected insights and experiences that business owners might share. The semi-structured interview process starts with an introduction. Here, Dr. Miller introduces herself, the purpose of the research, and assures the business owner about confidentiality of their responses. Then comes some predetermined questions. So how did the pandemic affect your daily business operations? Also, did you have to lay off any staff or make significant changes to staff roles? Were there any financial supports or resources available to you, and did you avail of them? Then she would follow with open-ended follow-up questions. When a respondent mentions pivoting to online sales, can you tell me more about that transition? What platforms did you use? And what were the challenges you faced? When a respondent talks about staff morale being low, then she asks, how did you address the morale issues? Were there specific initiatives or conversations that helped? And if a respondent refers to a lack of adequate government support, then she would ask, can you elaborate on the types of support you hope to receive? How would that have made a difference? For conclusion, Dr. Miller thanks the business owner for their time and insights and shares how the information will contribute to her research. She also offers to share the final findings with them if they are interested. Let's look at the outcome of this. So the semi-structured format allows Dr. Miller to gain both expected and unexpected insights while she gets answers to her primary queries. The open-ended nature also provides a chance for business owners to share unique experiences, challenges, and innovative solutions they might have come up with during the pandemic. Semi-structured interviews, like the example given here, are particularly useful in research scenarios or when a topic is multifaceted. They allow the interviewer to explore new avenues and insights that emerge during the conversation, leading to richer data. The third type of interview is unstructured interviews. These interviews are more conversational and do not follow a specific set of questions. Unstructured interviews allow for the greatest depth and flexibility but may be more challenging to analyze due to their varied content. Here is an example of an unstructured interview. Documentary on the lives of artists. Sarah Lee, an independent filmmaker, is working on a documentary exploring the personal lives, inspirations, and struggles of artists from various fields. She wants her interviews to be genuine, spontaneous, and reflective of the real emotions and stories of the artists. So she opts for an unstructured interview format. Now, the unstructured interview process goes like this. First, setting the tone. Sarah meets with the renowned local sculptor, Alex, in his studio. She begins with, Alex, I'm here to capture the soul of an artist, and I'd love to hear your story in your words. Then comes an open conversation. So Alex starts discussing his early childhood, mentioning how he used to mold clay from his backyard. So instead of redirecting him to a structured question, Sarah probes, how did those early experiences influence your art today? As Alex works on a sculpture during the interview, Sarah casually inquires, what are you feeling right now as you work on this piece? When Alex shares a story of a period when he felt lost and thought of quitting art, Sarah empathetically asks, what kept you going during that time? What rekindled your passion for sculpting? Embracing tangents, at one point, Alex delves into a side story about a trip to Greece and how the ancient sculptures there moved him. So rather than steering back to a scripted question, Sarah follows this tangent asking, how do such experiences shape the way you approach new projects? And for the conclusion, Sarah wraps up by expressing her gratitude for the genuine conversation and the insights Alex provided into his life and craft. So the unstructured format allows Sarah to capture raw, unplanned moments, and deep emotional revelations. These candid insights provide a rich texture to her documentary, making it more authentic and engaging. While it may take more effort to sift through the diverse content during the editing process, the depth of information and the genuine moments captured make it worth the effort. Unstructured interviews, like in this example, shine in situations where authenticity and depth are prioritized over consistency and ease of analysis. They can be particularly effective in storytelling, ethnographic research, or qualitative investigations. Here is a recap of the 3 types of interviews: structured interviews, semi-structured interviews, and unstructured interviews. Now let's talk about best practices for conducting interviews. To conduct effective interviews, consider the following best practices. Establish rapport. Build trust and rapport with respondents by introducing yourself, explaining the purpose of the interview, and ensuring confidentiality. Here is an example of how to establish rapport. Urban development research. Dr. Maya Robinson, an urban sociologist, is conducting a study on how urban development projects impact local communities, especially those in vulnerable positions. To gather rich first-hand data, she plans to interview residents who have lived in a neighborhood that recently underwent a massive redevelopment. So, establishing rapport. First, selecting the location. To make her respondent, Ms. Lopez here in this case, a longtime resident of the neighborhood, comfortable, Dr. Robinson suggests they meet at a well-known local cafe rather than in a formal office setting. Personal introduction. Before diving into the interview, Dr. Robinson shares a bit about herself. Mrs. Lopez, thank you for meeting me today. Just so you know a bit about me, I grew up in a city much like this and always wondered how the skyscrapers and new buildings changed the lives of those living around. This curiosity led me to study urban sociology. Then, explaining the study. I'm conducting this research to better understand the lived experiences of individuals like yourself in neighborhoods that have seen major changes. Your insights can be invaluable in ensuring future urban projects consider and respect the needs of long-standing community members. Then, ensuring confidentiality. Here, Dr. Robinson assures Mrs. Lopez, everything you share with me will remain confidential. If I use any information in my study, it will be made anonymous, ensuring your privacy is always maintained. Building trust with empathy. Now, during the conversation, when Mrs. Lopez speaks about the park that was replaced by a shopping mall, a place where she used to take her kids, Dr. Robinson responds empathetically. I can imagine how profound such a change can feel, especially when it's tied to cherished memories. And then end with gratitude. At the end of the interview, Dr. Robinson genuinely thanks Mrs. Lopez for her time and insights, emphasizing how crucial her perspective is for the research. Because of the rapport established, Mrs. Lopez opens up more freely, sharing personal stories, emotions, and observations she might have otherwise held back. This not only enriches Dr. Robinson's data, but also fosters a sense of respect and mutual understanding between the researcher and participant. Building rapport, as illustrated in this example, is fundamental to the success of an interview, especially when delving into personal or sensitive topics. Use open-ended questions. Encourage respondents to share their thoughts and experiences by asking open-ended questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. Here is an example of how to use open-ended questions. Research on workplace dynamics. Alex Mercer, a human resources researcher, is working on a project to understand the dynamics of workplace relationships and how they impact team performance. As part of the project, he decides to interview team leaders across various departments of a multinational company. So he uses open-ended question. So first, setting the tone. Alex starts the interview with Mr. Harrison, a seasoned team leader from the sales department, by setting a conversational tone. Mr. Harrison, I'm keen to understand the dynamics of your team, the challenges, successes, and the little moments in between. Your insights will be pivotal. Then comes initiating with open-ended questions. Can you describe the dynamics of your team and how they have evolved over the past year? Tell me about a particular challenge your team faced recently and how you all work together to overcome it. In what ways do you believe interpersonal relationships in your team influence the overall performance? And then allowing the conversation to flow. As Mr. Harrison starts talking about a recent challenge, Alex probes further using open-ended follow-up questions. That sounds like a crucial moment for the team. How did the members react initially? What strategies did you employ to navigate through that situation? How had that experience changed the team's approach to similar challenges now? Encouraging narratives. At one point, when the discussion veers toward team bonding, Alex asks, can you share a memorable instance where you felt the team truly came together outside of regular work tasks? Seeking personal perspectives. To understand leadership dynamics, Alex inquires, how would you describe your leadership style? And how has it been received by your team? By using open-ended questions, Alex gets a rich, detailed insight into the team's dynamics, challenges, successes, and the leadership perspective. Mr. Harrison, instead of giving short, definitive answers, delves deep into his experience, providing anecdotes, personal reflections, and offering a holistic view of his team's journey. Using open-ended questions as illustrated in this example helps researchers obtain comprehensive, nuanced, and qualitative data from their respondents. Listen actively. Pay attention to respondents' answers. Show interest and understanding, and use verbal and non-verbal cues to encourage them to continue sharing. Here is an example of the importance of listening actively. Research on urban green spaces. Dr. Lauren Williams, an urban planner and environmental researcher, is conducting a series of interviews to understand residents' perceptions and uses of urban green spaces in their city. Her aim is to collect in-depth experiences to inform future city planning decisions. So, demonstration of active listening. First, setting the scene. Dr. Williams meets Mrs. Garcia, a 30-year-old resident who frequently uses the city's parks and community gardens. The interview takes place in one of these gardens to create a comfortable atmosphere. Then comes opening the discussion. Dr. Williams starts with Mrs. Garcia. I'm interested in how you and others in this community interact with spaces like this garden? Can you share some of your experiences here? Then, active listening in practice. As Mrs. Garcia speaks about a community event she once attended in the garden, Dr. Williams nods, maintains eye contact, and occasionally murmurs words of encouragement like, "I see," or "Go on." When Mrs. Garcia mentions how the green spaces provide a respite from the city's hustle, Dr. Williams' eyes brighten, showing genuine interest. She tilts her head slightly, signaling she's keen to hear more. Noticing a brief pause, Dr. Williams gently prompts, "It sounds like this garden holds a special place in your heart. Can you share more about what it means to you personally?" Reflecting and validating. Midway through the interview, Dr. Williams summarizes what she's heard to ensure she understands correctly. "So if I'm hearing you right, these spaces offer not just a physical break, but also a sense of community bonding and emotional well-being." Non-verbal encouragement. As Mrs. Garcia delves into a personal story about teaching her niece to plant flowers in the garden, Dr. Williams' facial expression show empathy, and she leans slightly forward, signaling her engagement and encouragement of Mrs. Garcia to continue. Then closing on a note of appreciation. As the interview concludes, Dr. Williams warmly says, "Thank you for sharing your experiences so candidly. It's insights like yours that truly help shape a city that resonates with its residents." Thanks to Dr. Williams' active listening skills, Mrs. Garcia felt heard, valued, and encouraged to share detailed and personal experiences, providing invaluable data for the research. Active listening, as shown in this example, not only enhances the quality of data collected, but also builds trust and rapport with the interviewee, essential elements in qualitative research. Probe for additional information. Use follow-up questions and probes to explore topics in more depth or clarify unclear responses. Here's an example that demonstrates the benefits of probing for additional information. Research on sustainable consumer behavior. Alex Thompson, a market researcher, is conducting interviews to understand the factors that influence consumers' decisions to buy sustainable products. By obtaining more nuanced insights, he hopes to help companies market their sustainable products more effectively. So, demonstration of probing for additional information. First, setting the scene. Alex meets with JB, a 28-year-old professional who claims to be eco-conscious and frequently purchases sustainable products. The interview is held in a quiet coffee shop to create a relaxed environment. So the initial discussion, Alex starts with, "Jamie, can you walk me through the last time you chose to buy a sustainable product over a non-sustainable alternative?" Now Jamie's response, "Well, last week I bought a bamboo toothbrush instead of a plastic one. I just felt it was the right thing to do." That probing in practice. So Alex, noticing an opportunity to dive deeper, asks, "That's interesting. Can you elaborate on what made you feel it was the right thing?" Jamie replies, "I've been reading a lot about plastic pollution in oceans and how it affects the marine life. The idea of my old toothbrush harming a sea turtle didn't sit right with me." So Alex probes further. "Beyond the environmental impact, were there other factors that influenced your decision? Perhaps the brand's reputation, product quality, or recommendations from friends. Jamie thinks for a moment. Now that you mention it, a friend did recommend the bamboo toothbrush brand. She mentioned it lasted longer and was worth the price. That recommendation certainly played a part. Then you do further exploration. Sensing there's more to uncover, Alex continues. You mentioned product quality and price. Can you tell me how these factors rank when deciding to buy sustainable products? Are there trade-offs you're willing or not willing to make? So Jamie elaborates. Quality is paramount. If the sustainable option doesn't work well, I'm less likely to repurchase. As for price, I'm willing to pay a bit more for sustainable products, but there's a limit. If it's exorbitantly higher, I might reconsider. Then concluding with a clear picture. So Alex summarizes. So while the environmental impact is a key driver for you, product quality, price, and recommendations from trusted sources also play significant roles in your purchasing decisions. Jamie nods in agreement. Exactly. Through skillful probing, Alex was able to uncover a more comprehensive understanding of Jamie's decision-making process. This deeper insight is crucial for businesses aiming to position their sustainable products effectively in the market. Probing, as demonstrated here, helps researchers delve into the nuances of respondent perspectives, revealing richer data than surface-level questions might obtain. Stay neutral. Remain neutral and non-judgmental to avoid influencing respondents' answers or making them feel uncomfortable. Here is an example that demonstrates the importance of staying neutral while conducting an interview. Research on dietary choices and lifestyle. Maria is a healthcare researcher conducting interviews to understand why people make specific dietary choices, like adopting veganism or vegetarianism or choosing a meat-based diet. Her goal is to gather unbiased insights into various motivations and factors driving these decisions. Demonstration of staying neutral. Setting the scene. Maria sits down with Jake, a 35-year-old man who recently switched to a meat-based keto diet after being vegetarian for nearly a decade. So the initial discussion, Maria, Jake, can you describe your journey transitioning from a vegetarian diet to a predominantly meat-based keto diet? Now, Jake's response, I was a passionate vegetarian for years, largely for ethical reasons. But lately, I've been facing some health issues, and my nutritionist suggested the keto diet might help. It's been a tough decision, especially given my previous stance on meat consumption. Neutral reaction by Maria. So instead of showing surprise, agreement, or disapproval, Maria simply nods and says, thank you for sharing that with me. Everyone's journey with dietary choices is unique. Can you tell me more about the health issues and how this new diet has impacted them? So further exploration. Jake explains his health concerns in more detail and how he feels since making the change. At times, he shares the guilt and internal conflict he's been grappling with. Now, Maria, maintaining her neutrality, responds, I appreciate your openness in sharing this. It's important to gather diverse experiences to understand the complexities of dietary choices. Sensitive topics. Now, Jake dives into some controversial subjects, like the ethics of meat consumption, and environmental concerns. Throughout the conversation, Maria refrains from expressing personal opinions, judgments, or reactions, even when Jake looks for validation. Instead, she focuses on guiding the conversation with questions like, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What was your thought process behind that?" Now, thanks to Maria's neutral stance, Jake felt comfortable sharing his genuine experiences and inner conflicts without feeling judged. The data collected is unbiased and offers a clear understanding of a participant's perspective, uninfluenced by the interviewer's personal opinions or reactions. Staying neutral, especially on divisive or sensitive topics, ensures that respondents provide genuine insights and feel respected throughout the interview process. Take notes or record the interview. Keep detailed notes or record the interview with permission to facilitate accurate data analysis and interpretation. Here is a scenario that highlights the value of taking notes or recording the interview. Understanding challenges faced by small business owners. Alexandra is a researcher conducting a study on the challenges faced by small business owners during economic downturns. She is interviewing various owners from different sectors to gather in-depth information. Now, demonstration of taking notes or recording the interview. First, setting the scene. So, Alexandra is preparing to interview Priya, a small boutique store owner in a busy city neighborhood. So, beginning the interview, Alexandra, she says, "Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Priya, I'd like to discuss the challenges you faced as a small business owner, especially during the recent economic downturn. To ensure I capture everything accurately, would you be comfortable if I recorded our conversation?" Priya, "Yes, that's fine with me." Now, during the interview, Alexandra places a digital recorder on the table, ensuring it's capturing both voices clearly. She also keeps a notepad and pen handy. As Priya shares her experiences, Alexandra occasionally jots down notes, especially when Priya mentions key points or shows strong emotions. These notes will be useful prompts for follow-up questions and for the data analysis phase. Now, Alexandra says, "You mentioned that the first 3 months of the downturn were the hardest for your boutique. Can you dive deeper into the specific challenges you faced?" Priya elaborates, and while the recorder captures the detailed story, Alexandra writes down keywords like inventory issues, rent hikes, and staff layoffs. So post-interview, after thanking Priya and conducting the interview, Alexandra immediately reviews her handwritten notes to ensure clarity and completeness. Now, back at her office, she transfers the audio recording to her computer and labels it appropriately for easy access during the analysis phase. She also schedules a time to transcribe the interview, turning the audio data into written form for more detailed analysis. Now, the benefits: by recording the conversation and taking notes, Alexandra ensures that she captures the nuances and details of Priya's experience. This method allows her to focus on the conversation while still having a detailed record to revisit and analyze later. Maintaining a detailed record, whether through notes, recordings, or both, is crucial in qualitative research to ensure accuracy and depth in data analysis. Here is a recap of best practices for conducting interviews. Establish rapport. Use open-ended questions. Listen actively. Probe for additional information. Stay neutral. Take notes or record the interview. Now let's look at tips for effective interviewing. To enhance your interviewing skills, keep the following tips in mind. Adapt to the respondent. Adjust your interview style and language based on the respondent's level of understanding, communication style, and comfort level. Here is a scenario that highlights the value of adapting to the respondent during an interview. And we look at interviewing artisans about traditional craft techniques. Now, Sarah is a cultural researcher working on a project documenting traditional craft techniques from around the world. She has traveled to a remote village to interview artisans about their practices passed down through generations. Different artisans in the village have different levels of formality, education, and comfort with outsiders. So, demonstration of adapting to the respondent. First, the artisan, the village elder, Mr. Namgyal, is an elderly craftsman revered for his knowledge and craftsmanship in traditional pottery. He is reserved and communicates best when spoken to with respect and formality. So Sarah's approach: good morning, Mr. Namgyal. I am deeply honored to learn from someone of your expertise. May I kindly ask about the origins of this unique pottery style? Adjusting to his slow, deliberate way of speaking, Sarah asks open-ended questions and waits patiently for his thoughtful responses, showing reverence to his status in the community. Now, Artisan 2, the young innovator, Tsering is a young artisan who has been experimenting by blending traditional techniques with modern designs. She is vibrant, speaks fast, and is excited about innovation. So Sarah's approach is, hey Tsering, your designs are so cool and unique. Can you tell me how you came up with the idea to merge the old with the new? So Sarah matches Tsering's energy, asks questions that reflect her appreciation for innovation, and engages in a more casual, enthusiastic tone. Now for Artisan 3, the shy weaver. So Pema is a middle-aged weaver known for her intricate designs. However, she is shy, especially around outsiders, and isn't very fluent in English. So Sarah's approach, using simple English and speaking softly, she says, Pema, your work is beautiful. Can you show how? While asking questions, Sarah often uses gestures or points to the fabric to make her questions clearer. Seeing Pema's hesitation, Sarah also tries to engage in non-verbal appreciation, smiling, nodding encouragingly when Pema shows her weaving techniques. So the outcome is, by adapting to each artisan's style and comfort level, Sarah is able to collect rich, diverse insights while ensuring each respondent feels respected and understood. The key to effective interviewing is recognizing the unique characteristics and preferences of each respondent and adjusting the approach accordingly. This not only facilitates better data collection but also builds trust and rapport with respondents. Maintain control. Gently guide the conversation to stay on topic and ensure that all relevant questions are addressed. Here's a real-life example of how to maintain control of your interview and its importance. Interviewing restaurant owners about the impact of a recent policy change. Alex is a journalist working on a story about the impact of a recent city policy change on local restaurants. The policy limits the hours during which restaurants can operate due to noise concerns. Alex has scheduled an interview with Mr. Rodriguez, a passionate restaurant owner known for his lively discussions. Demonstration of maintaining control. Interview setting. Alex sits down with Mr. Rodriguez in a quiet section of the restaurant. As the interview begins, it's evident that Mr. Rodriguez has strong opinions on a variety of topics, not just the policy. So the initial diversion. Mr. Rodriguez starts talking about a recent food festival, detailing how successful his restaurant was during the event. Now, Alex's response, "It sounds like the festival was a big success for you, and I'd love to hear more about it later. But today, I'm particularly interested in your thoughts on the recent policy change. How has it affected your restaurant's operations?" The passionate tangents. As they delve into the policy's impact, Mr. Rodriguez begins discussing his general frustrations with city management, veering off the topic. Again, here, Alex's approach. "I can see why you might feel that way about city management. To ensure I cover everything I came for, can we focus on how specifically the new operating hours policy has impacted your business? Did you notice any change in revenues or customer behavior?" So getting back on track. When Mr. Rodriguez mentions another local policy about parking, Alex gently intervenes. "Parking is indeed a crucial aspect, and I'll make a note of that. However, regarding the operating hours policy, did you have to make any staffing changes?" Ensuring all questions are addressed. As the interview progresses, Alex keeps a checklist of questions. Whenever the conversation drifts, he waits for a natural pause or uses probing questions to steer it back. "Speaking of that, how did your late-night customers respond to the change?" And in conclusion, towards the end, Alex summarizes the main points discussed, ensuring he hasn't missed anything. "From our discussion, it seems the policy has impacted your revenues, staffing, and customer behavior. Is there anything else specifically about the policy and its impact that we haven't touched upon?" So by maintaining control of the interview, Alex ensures he gathers focused and relevant information for his article while still giving Mr. Rodriguez the space to express his views. Maintaining control doesn't mean suppressing the respondent's voice. It's about ensuring the primary objectives of the interview are met while navigating the natural flow of conversation. Be mindful of non-verbal communication. Pay attention to body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions, as they can provide valuable insights into respondents' feelings and reactions. Here is an example of how being mindful of nonverbal communication during an interview is important. Interviewing employees about workplace satisfaction. Jordan is a human resource specialist who is conducting one-on-one interviews with employees at a large corporation to gauge workplace satisfaction and uncover potential areas of improvement. Emma, a long-standing employee, is one of the interviewees. Now, demonstration of being mindful of non-verbal communication. First, the interview setting. So the meeting room is quiet and private. As Emma walks in, she seems slightly tense and avoids making direct eye contact. So the initial observations. As Jordan begins the interview with light introductory questions, he notices Emma's arms are crossed and her foot is tapping rapidly, signaling potential nervousness or defensiveness. So Jordan's approach is, "Thank you for taking the time to talk with me, Emma. Please know this is a safe place or a safe space, and your feedback is crucial for us to make positive changes." Then probing deeper. So when asked about her feelings toward team collaboration, Emma verbally responds, "It's good," but her tone lacks enthusiasm and she looks away. Noticing the discrepancy between her words and body language, Jordan probes gently. "You mentioned that collaboration is good. Can you elaborate on what works and what might need improvement?" Addressing discomfort. Upon discussing work-life balance, Emma's eyes dart downwards and she fidgets with her hands, indicating potential discomfort. Jordan, observing this, says, "If any topic feels too personal or you'd rather not share, please let me know. Your comfort is paramount." Then, affirming positive signals. So when discussing training opportunities, Emma's eyes light up. She leans forward and her tone becomes more animated. Recognizing this, Jordan comments, "It seems you're quite passionate about training and development. Can you share more about the kind of training sessions that have been particularly beneficial?" And then wrapping up. So towards the end of the interview, Jordan notices that Emma's posture has relaxed and she's more engaged, indicating a level of trust and comfort has been established. So Jordan concludes, "Thank you for your candid feedback, Emma. Your insights are invaluable. Please know we're committed to making the workplace better for everyone." By being attentive to Emma's nonverbal cues, Jordan was able to tailor his approach, ensuring Emma felt heard and respected while gathering authentic and meaningful insights. Being attuned to nonverbal communication allows interviewers to navigate sensitive topics with care, making the respondent feel comfortable and understood. Manage difficult situations. Handle sensitive topics with care and know when to redirect the conversation if the respondent becomes uncomfortable or unresponsive. So let's explore this real-life scenario that highlights an example of how to manage a difficult situation during an interview. Interviewing residents about neighborhood safety. Alex is a community outreach coordinator conducting interviews with local residents about their perceptions of safety in the neighborhood. The intent is to gather data for community development projects. Maria, a resident of the area for over 20 years, agrees to be interviewed. Demonstration of managing difficult situations. The interview setting. So the interview is conducted in a quiet corner of the local community center. The room is cozy and feels safe. So first starting point, Alex begins with general questions about Maria's experience living in the neighborhood. Maria answers confidently and seems relaxed. Then sensitive topic emerges. As Alex broaches the subject of neighborhood safety, Maria's demeanor changes. She hesitates, looking down. There was an incident near my daughter's school last year. Handling with care. Noticing Maria's discomfort, Alex responds with empathy. I'm so sorry to hear that. Please know you're in control here. You can share as much or as little as you're comfortable with. Our main goal is to understand and improve, not to cause any distress. Difficult moment. Maria starts to discuss the incident but becomes visibly upset, her voice shaking. It's clear the memory is traumatic for her. Redirecting the conversation. Sensing Maria's distress, Alex gently intervenes. Maria, thank you for sharing that with me. I understand how difficult it must be. Let's discuss other areas. How do you feel about the local parks or community events? Are they places you feel safe and enjoy? Acknowledging and offering support. After discussing the lighter topics, Alex acknowledges the difficulty of the conversation. Thank you for your time and insights today. We have counseling services available if you ever want someone to talk to about any distressing experiences. Then wrapping up, Alex concludes the interview with gratitude and ensures Maria feels acknowledged and supported. He also makes a mental note to consider the emotional impact when discussing such topics in future interviews. Now, Alex's ability to navigate the difficult topic, read Maria's emotions, and pivot the conversation ensured that Maria was respected and cared for. This approach not only preserves the trust between interviewer and interviewee, but also ensures the collection of meaningful data without causing unnecessary distress. Effective interviewers know how to tread lightly on sensitive topics, ensuring that the well-being of the interviewee is always paramount. Reflect on your own biases. Be aware of your own biases and assumptions, and avoid imposing them on the respondent or the interpretation of their responses. Here is a scenario that shows the importance of reflecting on your own biases during an interview. Interviewing entrepreneurs for a business podcast. Jordan hosts a podcast aimed at budding entrepreneurs where they interview successful business owners to share their journey and tips. Their next guest is Priya, a woman entrepreneur who built a successful tech startup in a predominantly male-dominated field. Demonstration of reflecting on one's own biases. So, interview setting. The interview is conducted in a well-lit studio with both Priya and Jordan sitting comfortably across from each other. Initial bias. So before the interview, Jordan has a preconceived notion, albeit unintentional, that Priya might have started her business with the help of a male co-founder, or perhaps got her initial funding from family connections, considering the challenges women often face in the tech industry. Addressing assumptions. As the interview begins, Jordan's first question revolves around Priya's startup journey. So instead of assuming and asking, so did your co-founder handle the technical side? Jordan opts for a more neutral. Can you tell me about the initial stages of your startup and the roles you played? Gaining insights. So Priya in her response reveals that she was the technical brain behind the venture and had to navigate the VC world herself without family financial support or significant outside connections. Awareness of bias. Now, Jordan realizes the internal bias they held and makes a conscious effort not to let it influence further questions. So instead of asking questions like, did you face challenges being a woman in tech? Jordan frames it as, what were the primary challenges you faced in your journey and how did you overcome them? Post-interview reflection. After the interview, Jordan reflects on their biases, understanding that even well-intentioned assumption can lead to leading questions or an unintentional imposition of their views on the interviewee. They make a note to be more aware and neutral in future sessions and to actively challenge any biases they might hold. Then feedback loop. So Jordan also discusses the interview with a colleague, seeking feedback on the questions posed and understanding if any bias inadvertently crept in. This helps in continuous learning and refinement for future interviews. Jordan's ability to catch their bias, adjust their questioning, and reflect post-interview ensures a more genuine conversation with Priya. This not only respects her journey and experiences, but also offers the podcast audience a raw, unbiased view of her entrepreneurial path. Being reflective and aware of personal biases is essential for interviewers, ensuring that the narrative remains true to the respondent's experience and isn't colored by the interviewer's perspectives or beliefs. Here is a recap of tips for effective interviewing. Adapt to the respondent. Maintain control. Be mindful of non-verbal communication. Manage difficult situations. Reflect on your own biases. That wraps up our discussion on conducting interviews. By following these best practices and tips, you can collect rich, insightful information from your respondents and enhance your marketing research project. In the next episode, we'll explore data analysis techniques and tools used in marketing research. Stay tuned and thanks for joining us today.